Welcome to Map Your Mind. Travel through the world with your brain. Alright, buckle up. Today we're heading into the heart of Latin America, a land bursting with color, revolution, and ancient echoes. This is Mexico. And let me tell you, its history isn't just long, it's epic. We're talking about pyramids older than Rome, civilizations that mapped the stars, empires of gold, and revolutions that shook the world. Before the conquest, empires of the sun, long before the name Mexico was even whispered, this land was home to some of the most advanced and awe-inspiring civilizations on the planet. First came the Olmecs, often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica, who carved massive stone heads and laid the groundwork for the civilizations that followed. Then came the Zapotecs and the mysterious Teotihuacan, whose colossal pyramids still tower near what is now Mexico City. But it was the Maya and the Aztecs who truly left their mark. The Maya were mathematical geniuses and stargazers. They created one of the most accurate calendars in human history, built elaborate city-states, and filled the jungles of the Yucatan with towering temples. Meanwhile, up in the central highlands, the Aztecs were rising. In 1325, they founded their capital, Tenochtitlan, on a swampy lake what is now Mexico City. It would grow into one of the largest cities in the world at that time. They built floating gardens, stunning temples, and ruled with a mix of might and mysticism. Their sun god needed blood, and war was often the way to feed him. But for all their power, their reign was short-lived. The Spanish arrive. Conquest and colonization. In 1519, a man named Hernán Cortés landed on the Mexican coast with dreams of gold and glory. What followed was one of history's most dramatic encounters. Alliances with indigenous enemies of the Aztecs, European weapons, and a devastating outbreak of smallpox brought down the mighty empire. By 1521, Tenochtitlan was in ruins. From the ashes rose New Spain. For 300 years, Mexico was a jewel in the Spanish crown. The Catholic Church spread its influence. Missions were built, indigenous beliefs were suppressed, and native people were forced into labor. But Mexican identity didn't disappear. It evolved, blending Spanish and indigenous roots into something new, something resilient. The fight for independence. By the early 1800s, revolutionary ideas were sweeping across the globe, and Mexico was no exception. In 1810, a Catholic priest named Miguel Hidalgo rang the church bell in the town of Dolores and called for revolt. It was the spark that lit the fire. A decade of brutal war followed, but in 1821, Mexico declared independence from Spain. Freedom, however, didn't mean peace. A century of struggle. Mexico's 19th century was chaotic. It saw emperors, dictators, and invaders. In 1846, the United States invaded Mexico in a war that ended with Mexico losing nearly half its territory, including what is now California, Arizona, and Texas. But Mexico kept fighting. One of its greatest heroes, Benito Juárez, rose from humble indigenous roots to become president. He pushed for reforms, resisted French occupation, and stood as a symbol of national pride. In 1864, France installed an Austrian Prince Maximilian as emperor. But Mexicans weren't having it. By 1867, the empire crumbled and Maximilian was executed. The Mexican Revolution then came 1910. The people had had enough of the dictator Porfirio Diaz, whose rule favored the rich and crushed the poor. What followed was one of the most significant social revolutions of the 20th century. Peasant leaders like Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa became legends, fighting for land, justice, and the soul of the nation. The revolution was bloody and complex, but it transformed Mexico. By 1917, a new constitution was in place, one that still shapes the country today. Modern Mexico, a nation reborn. The 20th century saw the rise of a one-party state. Economic booms and bust, cultural renaissances, and movements for democracy. Artists like Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo turned Mexican pain and pride into iconic murals and paintings. By the year 2000, the political monopoly ended with the first peaceful transition of power in decades. Today, Mexico is a country of contrast, grappling with issues like corruption and violence, but also rising with tech, culture, and global influence. From mariachi music and Day of the Dead festivals to tacos that could change your life, Mexico's soul is as vibrant as ever. Fun fact, did you know that chocolate, chili, and corn all originated in Mexico? That's right, next time you enjoy a hot chocolate or spicy taco, thank the ancient peoples of Mesoamerica. You're literally tasting history. So, next time you think of Mexico, don't just imagine sun-soaked beaches and sombreros. Think of empires carved into jungle stone. Think of revolutions, resilience, and a culture that refuses to be erased. Because Mexico isn't just a country, it's a living story. written in ancient glyphs and sung in the voices of millions. Stick around, there's always more to explore here on Map Your Mind. Where to next?